Hey, Nick. Rick Carley, Fox 6. Have you decided on the punishment of Cam? Has he completed everything that you have asked of him? And will Cam Robinson start the first game of the season?
Well, I think that, first of all, the information that we received, obviously what the prosecutor did in deciding not to charge these two young men, we had a set of internal things that these guys had to do, police ride around, community service for domestic delinquent groups who they could actually help as a role model. If these guys continue to finish these things and the fact that they weren't charged with anything, and I don't think the facts that we received sort of match up to what was released. Based on all that information, if these guys complete these things, this will be handled internally, and we'll decide at a later date whether it's necessary to suspend them, but if they do the things they're supposed to do internally, that they will be able to play in the first game.
Right. Tom Menino, WVTM 13 in Birmingham. You always talk about accountability, and you want to have guys hold each other accountable. When it comes to off-the-field incidents of this nature, how much would you like your players to kind of, because they came in here and said they talked about how they're family and they want to help each other out, how much can you ask your players realistically to maybe support guys who might have some trouble off the field, and maybe in any way?
Well, on our team, you know, I think our players respect each other. I think they trust each other. I think to have 130 guys, 125 guys that are all college age, adolescents, who do a pretty good job, I think, overall, in terms of their behavior. They graduate at a higher rate than the normal students at the University of Alabama. We have had very, very few problems. Now, are we perfect? Are these guys perfect? I don't know, but for those of you out there that have children, are your children perfect? I mean, I had two children. I'm proud of them, and I love them. Did they always do everything exactly right? But they learned, and they grew, and they became better people because of what they did. And I think that the kind of respect and trust that we've been able to sort of develop on our team, I don't think there's any question about the fact that everybody understands the responsibility that they have to represent themselves, their family, the institution, the program, and there's an expectation for the standard and level of that. But I also think when we have failings that we know we're less than perfect, and I think we're always going to be very supportive of trying to help the players. To think that the only way to help players is suspend them for games, I think is a punitive attitude that may not be correct.
You mentioned the lack of charges against Cam and Hootie as one of your reasons for treating that the way you have. The district attorney in that case said that one of the reasons, in fact, he said the main reason that he wasn't charging them was because they had spent their teenage years working and sweating. Does that sound like justice?
Well, I don't think that's all there is to it, so I think you have to look at the whole picture. I'm not going to discuss the case with you here, but based on the information that we got and based on what they did wrong, I think the prosecutor made the decision on the whole body of work based on what was done there and what the laws are. And that's not my choice, and that's not my decision to make. I'm also making this decision based on the history of the kind of people those players have been in our program and the things that they've done to change their behavior relative to our program. So that's basically what we're going to do.
Hey, Coach, right here, Seth Austin, ABC 3340. I was wondering if you'd be in favor of a universal punishment policy across the SEC or across the NCAA, where if your players know they do X, they get a certain punishment. If they do something else, they'll get another one. That way, it's already in their head to maybe change their behavior before they go out and make a bad decision.
Well, we have a lot of educational programs. I've talked about before, peer intervention programs to educate players on the consequences of good and bad behavior. So we've taken a lot of steps to do that. I'm not sure that you have to have some national rule that says this is the punishment. For example, We have an NCAA rule. If you have a positive marijuana test by the NCAA, you're suspended for 6 games or half the season the next year. It's not necessarily exactly the same as our internal policy, which is more geared toward helping players solve the problem and be able to be drug-free in terms of their pursuit of an education and the football career. So that punishment is clearly defined, but how does it affect what players do and the choices they make every day? Now, the education program that we put them through probably has a greater effect. And that's what we try to do in all areas, whether it's, we talked about domestic violence already today, we talked about guns, we talked about agents, we've talked about drugs and alcohol. So all these behavior issues that are challenges for college student athletes are things that we try to create an educational program that will help them understand the consequences of good and bad behavior so they can have better foresight in making decisions.